Yo, yo, yo. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to 343 First. We are doing something brand new, something we've been discussing for a while, and we thought what better way to kick it off on the most exciting day, bar maybe the end of day fixtures. Welcome to the 343 Deadline Day stream. I'm not alone, I'm joined by my co host AF. And we've got our international guests here. We've got Wasim, the only Newcastle fan in Cape Town. And we've got Ziad, all the way from UAE, if I'm not mistaken, or
Yes, sir.
Saudi, or Dubai, or I don't know. So, gents, welcome. How's it going?
Nah, good, eh?
Good.
Good. It's been a great day so far from a United perspective. But yeah, a little bit more on that later.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
nothing
yeah.
to report here from the Gunners. I think we did our business quite early. So
Yeah,
we're
Yeah.
just
I
here
think
to
the proper
watch.
clubs do it earlier.
Uh,
Proper clubs, no? Proper clubs.
uh,
Wasim, what about your
like,
Newcastle? What
Exactly.
about
We
your
were done for
Newcastle?
business weeks ago already. So that's the
Jeez.
yeah,
thing.
and
I
after
don't
after
understand
that,
these clubs that do 3 or 4 deals on deadline day. What's that? Panic buys
mm,
or?
mm,
Panic
I
buys,
don't
listen,
know,
more
man.
more
I
by
don't know.
strategic thinking.
Strategic
Because
thinking forces you into getting Johnny Evans back. This guy probably got
Amazing.
PTSD. Uh, Coming back thinking it's probably 2012, Fergie still manager. Yeah, no, it's been an interesting one so far. We've seen a lot of incomings. Ziad, on your point, I think Arsenal's now focused on getting the outgoings, isn't it? I heard Rob Holdings
yeah,
finally
trimming the fat.
got his access denied, and I think he has to clean out his thing now this evening. Yeah, I think we'll start with Wasim, right? So obviously, like you said, you had started business early. You had got Sandro Tonali. I think he was maybe like put a bag over his head, brought him into Newcastle, and they said, "No, this is the renovation that we've done to the San Siro." What are your thoughts on your club's business thus far? So far, because I mean, Lewis Hall coming in as well. What are our thinkings towards those signings?
yeah, I think we've overall our squad is stronger than it was at the beginning of the window. So I think that's always a good gauge. If you want to see how your window was, is compared to how it was before the window started. So how it looks now, I think we've got 4 very good signings, 4 players who improve the depth of the squad. Because our issue, obviously, this season is going to be more games, more intense games for that matter. So for us, it's more about just getting players who can play when called upon and be ready. Not have a big drop between your first 11 and those who come in as replacements. So I think guys like Lewis Hall, who is very talented and was doing very well for a poor Chelsea team last season when he did play, and so I think he's a good addition as a left back, and he's also got pace and that technical ability that we need for someone at left back because Dan Burn is quite defensive in his position as a left back. And then we got Livramento, who's again a young player who can push Trippier for that right back spot. So that's depth for 2 positions. And then our other signings were Harvey Barnes, who's a player who can add goals. He scored, I think, 13 goals last season in the Premier League. So he's certainly capable of doing it at that level. And then we got obviously Sandro Tonali was our big signing. So overall, probably one player who's a definite starter, and the other 3 are all there just to beef up the squad overall, so that should we have injury here or injury there, we've got capable covers. I think that is what I feel. I feel we've done well in the window. We haven't gotten rid of all our deadwood, but hopefully in the hours to come we'll hear some more.
I would
No,
think
that
that Harvey Barnes is somebody that was bought with a view to be a starter. I highly doubt that you're buying Harvey Barnes for him to come off the bench every single game,
I think
especially
yeah, I
with
think
uh,
that's a valid point. I think when it comes to that, is there's 2 things. Is when Anthony Gordon joined in January, he wasn't at the level that was required in terms of fitness,
yeah.
and he was a bit of form and things like that. He came from a evident team who was struggling, so his confidence was also not too high. And coming into a team that's doing well, I think he struggled. but he had a good preseason. He had a good Euro under-21 tournament. He was named player of the tournament. So he did really well. So then he's now all of a sudden put his hand up for that left wing that left wing spot, which what Harvey Barnes was bought for. So I think we've suddenly got competition for that same spot. So I think that's why Harvey Barnes isn't starting at the moment. I think eventually with time, Gordon will switch to the right, Almiron will drop off, and we'll have Barnes also starting in that position. So I think that's maybe the idea. But because Barnes is still adapting to the team style, new team, new players around you. So I think that's why they've kept him on the bench and started with Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's also, I think it's some key signings. Obviously, Newcastle, much like Arsenal, heading back into the Champions League after what seems like a long time out in the wilderness, right? And I think we might have got the easier draw, might have got the easier group. Group F looking very spicy. So I think those few signings come in nice. And I think it just had to be. I think all of the script writers, all of the string pullers had to make that Sandro Tonali has to go back to AC Milan. Just quickly, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts on that? What are you feeling towards being back there? I think it's the first time since 2004.
Yeah,
but the nerves, were excitement.
20 years. So yesterday when I saw the draw, I was actually frustrated and angry. Like, not angry, but I was hoping that we would get one or two easy teams and one or two tough teams, so that we have a good chance of going through. When I saw the draw yesterday, I was like, oh my god, like we can't even get out of this group. Never mind going third into Europa League. I don't even think that's an option. When I looked at it, and that was my initial thought, because I was like, we worked so hard to get in the Champions League. We get all these tough teams, and that's going to be our season done. But now that I've had time to process it, I think we actually have a good chance. Dortmund are in rebuild, so we've got a chance there to perhaps beat them at home, and maybe we might not beat them away, but get a result at home. Milan are a good side, but we bought the best player from them last season. So are they as good as they were? Obviously, Giroud is a year older, and a few of the defenders are a bit older. So are they an aging team? Perhaps they are. So we don't know, but I think we could push them also at home, and then maybe based on that, see if we can get that second spot. PSG will be very tough home and away. But again, they've gotten rid of Messi. There's discontent in the squad. There's a lot of new players, so perhaps they won't be gelling as early as this month when we play them. So let's see. I think we've got a chance. And also, when you join the Champions League, you want to be playing those big games, the big teams of the competition. You're not there to play, Red Star Belgrade away, and have those type of games where it's further travel, and it's just so. I think now that I've thought about it, I'm happy. I'm happy about the draw, and bring it on.
Yeah, those away days are going to be amazing for your fans. I mean,
Yeah,
Paris, Dortmund, and Milan. I mean, you can't ask for a better group than that for a fan to be traveling.
Yeah, asking guys to come out of Newcastle and go to France, Germany, all these nice places there. It must be a very nice trip for them. Ziad, you haven't been with us for a while. Firstly, congratulations for the viewers watching. Ziad has joined fatherhood.
Yeah.
He has adopted a dog or
That's
anything like
the best signing of the transfer window, I think.
Best signing confirmed. Here we go. Sleepless nights, but a lot of joyous memories.
Yeah. And
have
I
you been
think
able to
in the
catch
long
any
run, it
from-
will probably
Yeah.
cost more than the Salah bid that Liverpool received.
Oh damn. Okay. But I think it has to be worthwhile, isn't it? I mean, I don't have
Yeah,
any
for
kids.
sure.
Can probably assume it would be. How's things been? Have you been able to keep up with all of these transfers?
Yeah, just about, man. It slowed down a bit nicely, so I was able to catch up. Like Wasim said, a lot of teams did their business early, so I mean, it's not too much of a blockbuster if you look at it coming towards the deadline. It's mostly small moves. You're looking at loans, and largely you're looking at players who couldn't get the move they wanted, or the club couldn't get the player out, and now you're sitting with loans. Like if you look at João Felix to Barcelona now. such a weird loan to essentially a direct rival, and there's no option to buy or no obligation to
Yeah.
buy, so it's a straight loan. So these are the type of
Yeah.
moves that you're seeing now, which are engineered to kind of suit everybody, but also nobody at the same time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. True.
on
True. It is. It is interesting, like you said. Go for it.
on
Go for
the
it. There.
on the
Yeah.
Salah comment. I was actually just reading a few minutes ago now that Jamie Carragher said that if a 200 mil bid comes in, that's overs. That's game over right there. But I mean, it's weird that the I think it was Al Ittihad that made the bid, that they waited until the 11th hour to make that 150 mil bid. I feel like
Yeah,
if
the
they had to do that
timing is weird.
earlier, yeah, if they had to do that earlier, then Liverpool would have had some time to try and find a proper replacement. Because I mean, 150 mil, it's a lot of money for them to try and
But
use to find a worthy replacement.
you know what? Like, there's a lot of talk about this thing, obviously, right? So I'm just gonna go into it with a different angle, basically. Like, there's a lot of talk about the replacement needed for him, but Liverpool actually have a lot of options up front. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that anybody is equal to him because nobody they have is on his level or current
Yeah.
level. People are close,
Yeah.
or they could with time obviously do what he did, have the similar seasons, but not immediately. So I actually don't think they're in too much of a bad spot. If you look at it from I'd say from a business or commercial point of view, if you're gonna get that amount of money for a player in his 30s with 2 years left on his contract, I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. So ideally, obviously, as a club like that, you probably want to sell with a year left. So I think it's a year early. That the same offer will come next year, but obviously at a lower fee
Yeah.
if the Saudi money is still there. But I think that it's been spoken about too much that you can't replace him and stuff. And again, I'm not saying you can essentially replace him like for like, but Liverpool do have a lot of options up front, and I reckon they could have probably used that cash injection to strengthen their defense, which I think is going to be their Achilles heel through the season. Looking at the centre back options after Robertson, yeah, they got the Greek left back, but I mean it's a bit thin even on the right hand side. So I know
Yeah.
they're spending money and they brought in Gravenberg, I think I say if you say his
Yeah.
name, but there's a lot of
Mhm.
talk. I think I just read an article now where they're saying it might not be the right move. So all in all, timing is bad, but I don't actually think it would have been a bad piece of business to cash in. But late now, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a widely known tactic, right? That they leave it till that last hour and they think that they can try and do these little deals, offer this much club takes, and then it leaves them in a bit of a sticky situation. But yeah, they prepared to offer 150. So I'm not sure if they had this sort of cash. It's not like they needed to first get an outgoing there, because I mean, who's leaving from Saudi that's going to cost 50 more, right? Everybody's
Yeah,
flocking
exactly.
to Saudi, so they
Yes.
had that cash. I heard that petrol is going up next week here in South Africa, so it could also be that's where they were making all of the cash
Bro,
money.
petrol went up here also.
Yeah, so I think it was probably after City signed Nunes, and then they had to do something to try and make it work. They had a very busy window as well. But AF, just to mission over to Manchester, what are your thoughts? Amrabat coming in, and
Yeah.
quite a
So
few outgoings. Yeah, quite a few outgoings, also quite a few incomings.
I'm just going to display this comment here, Jason, from the missus.
Oi, okay. If
Only
only
United knew how to trim the fat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, no,
true words
that is
have never
true, eh?
been
That is
said.
true. What is the fat that she's referring to? Who are we saying United need to trim?
I mean, there's so many people that should have been moved on earlier on in the window. I mean, it's no secret that Harry Maguire turned down a bid or a move to West Ham. Scott McTominay as well. He was linked to West Ham. He was linked to Fulham. turn down deals because they'd rather be earning the huge paychecks than go over to another team. And Donny van der Beek as well. Like, I mean, the dude is there. It's like a few hours left, and you're still seeing stuff on the Twitter feed about Donny van der Beek is still in negotiations with Galatasaray. He's still in negotiations with all these other clubs. I mean, you're leaving things like on the last minute, and the squad is going to be so big if they don't move these players on. There's no, I don't see Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay getting game time anytime soon. I think Johnny Evans will even be higher in the picking order than Harry Maguire this season.
Well,
Yeah,
if,
but I
if
mean,
anything has been proven
contracts,
by
man,
the
the
stuff that's
contracts.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean that's fair. So, but I mean maybe he shouldn't play because I mean he's still able to get national team call-ups. He's still able to make that squad. So I mean that might be a story for some other day. But yeah, I think Harry might be staying put, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah, no. I think
A lot of the guys don't want to take wage cuts, man. At the end of the day, and again, you can't blame a guy who offered him that contract. So you can't be upset. Yeah, a fan base can maybe upset, but the club themselves can't push you out. They can't force you out, and they gave you that contract. And if they really want you to go, then buy the guy out. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Mutual consent. You agree on the fee that you're willing to pay out, or you have to send the guy out on loan and subsidize his wages. If Maguire goes to West Ham and he has to take a 20% pay cut, if you really want to get rid of him, give him the 20%. That is missing out on, right? Or you could also come give Edu a call and ask, how do you just cut players, like Aubameyang and Ozil and whoever else? Well, terminate that contract, it's possible that you really want to. So
Nicola Pepe.
What's his situation, by the way?
I honestly don't know. I thought he would be good backup. Sort of a different element to throw in the very structured setup that Arteta has. But yeah, obviously I'm thinking 2D. Arteta's thinking 3D, maybe 4D even. So yeah.
That man is on another level, bruh. 4D is too limited for him. Didn't you see what they said now? Against City, they played 43 formations. So he's on some other vision.
That's crazy. Maybe let's hope that he's not inherited Pep's gene, to overthink every minute thing. But I suppose that's also what makes them world class, right? They're able to see every possible move. It's like a Limitless movie or like Lucy, where Scarlett Johansson could just using 100% of her brain.
Speaking of movies, what movie is Todd Bowley watching, because it seems like Palmer is Palmer A-lister or what in that movie? Because damn,
I don't know. They talking about playing Palmer in the same role as Foden, but Foden was on the bench all the time. So what are you saying here? What are we saying that Palmer's going to be doing?
To be honest, I don't know where he fits in though. Like, I mean, who currently plays on that wing? Raheem Sterling. Then there's Mudryk. Then there's Madueke. I mean, they have so many players in every position now. Like, yes, we said the same about Manchester City, but I think City didn't have so many resources at their disposal. I think Chelsea went a bit overboard, and I don't see how all these players are going to be able to be getting game time or sufficient game time throughout the season.
Now I think this guy's looking at it like asset collection. So if we sign these guys early, and their value can go up, we can flip them later. That's what they got the 8-year contracts for. But man, I don't know. Wasim, you obviously when Newcastle took over, you guys got the cash injection, and your club decided to build a certain way. Have you been like surprised with how Chelsea have gone about it? Because essentially, from a financial perspective, you could say it's fairly equal, although Chelsea obviously had a bit more of a draw with the European football that they were in. I mean, obviously, they're not now, but have you been surprised by their approach?
Definitely. I think if I look at the way Chelsea they spent heavily this window, but last window was even worse. And what I thought was when it was the first window of Bowley, I thought, okay, maybe he's doing this because he just wants to get, a certain core of his squad bought early and get them in so that they can adapt, and then next window just be adding here and there
Yeah.
where needed. But he's gone with the same approach both windows, and it's so ridiculous because at the end of the day, like, how is a player going to develop and earn sufficient game time to develop? But also, how is the team going to have a dynamic where, okay, I have this guy next to me as my center back. We're going to be the main center backs. Whatever, we build this relationship over the time, because I can guarantee you, Chelsea don't know what the best 11 is at this point in time, and you are already three to four games into the season. So I think like Pochettino is figuring it out as he's going along, and it's not actually being helped by the owner, because the owner is like, oh, here's another player, and oh, here's another player, and this one's more expensive, and so he
Yeah.
might have had an idea at the beginning of the season, like, okay, my right wing is going to be Sterling and Madueke, just this for say, for example. But all of a sudden, he's still got Mudrik on the bench. He's got now Palmer. He doesn't know where to play, how to get that balance in midfield, because you've got Fernandez, Caicedo. There's just so many options. But I think at the end of the day, it's too many options. And with all the money that's been spent, it's just added pressure. Look at Caicedo in his debut. He struggled because I think that price tag now weighs heavily on his shoulders. Whereas at Brighton, he could play freely. He could really just let his talent do the talking. Whereas now, every move he makes, the media is going to be watching. Oh, he had a bad game. He gave a penalty away. The fans are going to be on his back. And so I think it's just unnecessary pressure, and they've approached it the wrong way. And yes, sometimes you do wish to have an X player, a certain player bought for X value, and like, wow, it's amazing to spend 100 million on a player that you really, really want. But at the end of the day, it's going to be detrimental to the whole team when you're doing this on a consistent basis. I'd like to see how they're going to be a year or two down the line, because now you've got maybe another 10 or 15 players that you don't want, but they're on 8-year contracts, 6-year contracts. You see United struggling to get rid of just Maguire and McTominay, who are on lengthy contracts. But they are just one or two English players, or British players, put it that way. Whereas Chelsea are going to have foreign players. They're going to struggle big time, and they are also banking on getting Champions League and all of that. And if they don't get that, then that's additional problem. So yeah, I think it's the wrong method, but each to their own, I suppose.
Yeah, it seems like certain players like saw everything that's actually happening with all the players coming in. Conor Gallagher, it seems like he wanted a move out. He was linked with Spurs. Spurs seemed keen on signing him on loan, but in order to do that, they needed to move Højbjerg on, but they couldn't do that, and that's basically resulted in Conor Gallagher staying at Chelsea now for probably until January or so. Because I guess certain players would have basically just foreseen, okay, how many minutes am I actually going to be getting this season? Is it going to be worthwhile for me to actually stay here? And I think Gallagher probably realized that in the last couple of days, and unfortunately, it couldn't really develop into anything for him.
Just one other thing I want to mention is that I just look at Chelsea in one position, in the left back position. They have Chilwell, who's an England international, good player, so farewell, he's going to be a starter. But then they've also got Colwell, who's a young developing player who can play left back. They've got they had Lewis Hall, who is also very exciting, extremely talented. For 18, he looked at ease in the Premier League. Then they had Cucurella, who was bought for an inflated fee, because they were also just desperate to take him from Brighton because he was doing well at Brighton. And then they had a guy, Martin, who was doing well at Burnley on loan. So that's 5 players in one position, of which, if you ideally you would say the 2 academy players should, with time, become first teamers and regulars. But because they spent so much on Cucurella, they had Chilwell already on the books. So there's no space for Martin and Hall. And so both of them are now being sold. Whereas if you ask a Chelsea fan, they'll say, but these are good young players. They could have been our future, like, in a year or two's time, or even this season. But they're both being let go. And a player that they now don't really want to keep, Cucurella, couldn't get him off to United because United didn't want to pay the fee, and he was only bought last year. So you see, that's how the problem starts. Is they're spending so much that no player can develop in a certain position, and other clubs are benefiting. We literally got Hall for 20 odd million, which I think is a steal in today's market. So yeah, I just think there's no method at the moment, and it's going to cost them.
The Cucurella to United deal, Chelsea actually shot themselves in the foot there, because apparently that deal was very close. They actually got to a point where I think they were basically 9 out of 10 in terms of the deal, and then Chelsea ended up starting him in the League Cup, basically ensuring that he's cap tied. And United won't want to sign a player, especially since they need the player for the next 6 months because they're going to be out. So why would you then want to sign a player that you can't use in the League Cup? So I think Chelsea shot themselves in the foot with that one.
You sound like you're planning a deep run here for the League Cup.
Yeah, always. I mean, we need to defend. We need to defend that trophy, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I'm seeing now.
Speaking of defenders, Regulon. What's the story with Regulon? Happy? I always thought he was a right back.
To be honest, I'm not. I'm not really much of a fan, eh? Like he wasn't bad over in La Liga. He did okay at Spurs, but I held a bit of a grudge, man. We wanted him in the first place. He rejected us. We went for Teles, and then he went to Tottenham that time. So, like, I don't like the sloppy seconds, man.
I think
so. Why not just play?
That's the aisle that you shop in now. So, like, I mean, you bought a Haaland, but not the right one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As I say that, he's going to probably score when he comes off the bench against Arsenal Sunday, last 10 minutes. And
I'm probably going to start, to be honest. Yeah, and he's
maybe
probably going to give us
score a bicycle or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, what's that guy, Machida? He scored 1 goal his whole career and you never saw him again.
Yeah, a madness against Aston
Villa. All these people make debuts like that against Arsenal. What, Danny Rose also scored a screamer. As well. Yes.
Rashford's debut was also like scored 2, I think. That was
Those it was against Arsenal, right?
Yeah, those are very dark times. But just to circle back, sorry, while Wasim was actually talking, we had that comment from Sadiq Khan. Now, Sadiq and I went to high school, right? And Sadiq is probably
Isn't he still at high school?
Hey, I honestly think that he really could be. He's the most unserious person I've met. But he clearly loves Todd Bowley. It's going to be very interesting to see when they have to finalize squads and announce squads for both the Prem and Champions League. Who then misses out, right? Because they've got 7 left wingers that could all stake a claim there. They've got like 12 centre backs that should possibly be, and then they've got like Caicedo, Enzo, Gallagher. They got that other kid that they signed from Rennes, Ukachekwi.
I like him actually.
It's actually like a game of Football Manager, right? Where you just unearth these gems, and it also maybe circles back to the fact that they've got club ownership in France. So it's like sign them, loan them off to Strasbourg. I think that's what happened with like most of the youngsters. So Wasim mentioned all of these players that they'll then have to sell, and they have this massive squad and stuff. They've still got a large percentage of youngsters that are out on loan that must still come back. Like when they're coming back for the first day of preseason, you'll find people like, I think there was that clip of Ian Wright meeting his old teacher, and he's like, "Oh, didn't know you were alive still." That's how everybody's gonna look when Marco van Ginkel still comes back and he's still on the books, and he signed in 2008 when he was 16.
Legend.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. I think one team that I do want to talk about is Nottingham Forest. So they last season they were promoted and they signed like 20 odd players, and now it seems like maybe they've halved that amount, but they're still signing at quite an impressive rate. So they've signed Tavares on loan. They've signed Callum Hudson-Odoi. Chelsea's star boy of a few years back. I think Chaloba's also linked there now, potentially.
I saw Chaloba might get
That's
Tottenham
like
now.
an extreme. Yeah, but that's also, I think it's a similar thing where you actually don't want to sell to like a rival, and I think maybe that's their rival. I don't know. Yeah, is
Who's
it going to
rival?
be a
Chelsea.
sustainable model? Chelsea, yeah, 6th and 7th,
Oh.
man, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's a
about
bit confused there.
what about the Liverpool cult hero Divock Origi?
Divock
he's also
Origi
got back.
making his return. Imagine him, Elanga, and Awoni playing together. It's just like speed. Just literally hooves the ball. That's like maybe Cape District football, you know. Put it forward. We got 3 fast guys up front. Let them do whatever they want, and then you have this one skillful Morgan Gibbs White, who he'll just put the crosses in, put the balls through, and just let the Owens run.
Let them
Yeah,
cook.
is it a sustainable method for? I think we saw Fulham do that one season, right? They dropped 100 and they went up, and then they went down again. Do you think not, with all the signings and blooding all these new guys? Do you think they even make a claim this season, or are they heading down with Everton?
I don't know, man. It was scrappy last season, like when they came up and they made all those signings and stuff. And I mean, until very late in the season, they were relegation candidates, and they basically just escaped with a couple of games to spare at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So a big part of why they were able to escape last season was Brennan Johnson. He was the talisman, and I mean, now he's moved on to Spurs as well. I think he finished his medical today. So that's a right wing. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it's like, I think it was like for 45. So that's also some decent money for somebody like that. Go on. You were saying right wing.
So that's just the right wing spot now open. Like you said, Callum Hudson-Odoi is coming over, and Divock Origi is going to be there. Anthony Elanga is going to be there. But like speaking from a United point of view, Anthony Elanga, he was a good prospect. I think playing for United probably like was never meant for him. Like I think the club might have been a bit too big for a player like him. I think he's still quite talented, as we've seen from all his games playing for Sweden, like all the goals that he scored over there. And I feel like this is a good combination for him. I feel like he'll be able to flourish over there on the left wing. So yeah, let's see how that goes. But yeah, I think it's going to be touch and go for Forest again this season. They need some consistency, and just like throwing all these different ingredients in every single time to make them blend first, and then just like take it from there.
Yeah,
I think what will save them, what could save them, is the fact that there's probably 3 worse teams in the league than so if you look at like Luton, for example, Everton have struggled and they don't really look as much of a threat this season, and they already just barely survived last season. So they might just be the fact that Forest are safe because there are 3 teams worse off than them. So by spending these amounts of money and getting a Origi type of player, and they're all players who are capable of winning your match here and there. And so by summing all of those parts, I think they might still be okay.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, I think Everton's season probably starts when Arsenal visit them. I think it's in October. That's generally their first 3 points of the season. So I think let's give them October to Jan, and then let's see what happens. So just in this last segment, right? So we've looked at clubs doing business. We've looked at the expensive side of London. We've looked at all these other deals. Who's the signing that each of you guys really pick out to make like the biggest impact from, I suppose, when he starts? If he's if he's already made that sort of impact, that's cool. But looking specifically at EPL, who are we targeting to have the biggest impact? So yeah, I'm gonna start with you. And if you say Declan Rice, I agree with you 100%. But I mean, if not, that's also fine.
I want to say Declan Rice, but finding it a bit hard to go there. Look, I think there are obviously lots of big deals that took place, and I actually struggling to find the one that stands out really for me. Obviously, with Chelsea, they've done so many things. I thought United didn't do enough. City seem to have done okay, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, for me, there's nothing really that stands
Okay.
out like that as a super signing. I mean, especially with the, I
Okay.
think what makes it hard for me is the inflated values that
Yeah.
have been, thrown around. I actually would have gone with Yuri and Timber if he didn't get injured because I thought that was the signing that would, giving the Gunners that versatility across the back line. So
Yeah.
obviously a bit disappointed um, that he did get injured. But
Yeah.
if you put a gun to my head, I'm probably going to go with Nicholas Jackson. I think he's going to be phenomenal, really exciting. I've always liked the African strikers, and there's just something about him, man. There's something mercurial about him, man. I'm going to be watching that storyline for the season. So I'm going to go with Nicholas Jackson.
Okay. Wasim, what do you have besides Lewis Hall and Harvey Barnes after that first game against Villa?
So he's
I'm
already
gonna give
co-signed the Lewis Hall one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 5 players that I think are really caught my eye in the first few weeks.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
look, I want to
Yeah.
be I'll try and be impartial a bit. So I'm gonna first name is
Okay.
gonna be a Newcastle player, but the others are not. Trust me. So Sandro Tonali, I think is really a class act and has caught my eye. So I think his first 3 games that he's
Okay.
played for us is as if he's a class actor who's played in the Premier League all his life. He's just so good, and
Yeah.
been very impressed with him.
Yeah.
I think number 2 is James Maddison. He has also played as if he's been at Spurs all his life, and he's just seamlessly gone into that team who had no identity, and he's literally been the main man from game 1. So I think Madison has been a great buy. I think Musa Diaby at Villa, top player, and he's going to get lots of goals and assists this season. I think he's really another player who has had no time needed to settle into a new league. So I think that's impressive. And then Udogi also at Spurs. He wasn't bought this window, but he's really an exciting player. And then I think the only other player now, I just lost the thought. Oh, Mohamed Kudus is the 5th player. I think Kudus is extremely exciting. I watched him at the World Cup. Was lucky enough to watch him live, and he is such a talented player who is going to do really big things in the future. I don't know exactly how he'll settle to life at West Ham immediately, but I think once he does settle, he is such a talented player that he will not be at West Ham for too long before another big club takes him from them. So I think, yeah, those are my players who really caught my eye, and I think have been superb signings for their respective teams.
Yeah, West Ham actually have an interesting rotation up front if you look at it, right? They got Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus, Ben Rama. Actually, quite interesting how they're going to use everybody. But it's good to have depth, man. Like sometimes we overthink it when we say where is he going to play and whatever, because you have to account for injuries, you have to account for loss of form. People fall out of favor, etc. So it's good to have that depth because you challenge each other as opposed to knowing you're going to start every game and the backup isn't good enough to replace you. That complacency which you see at some clubs, where players drop off because there's no challenge. So I actually, now that you mention it, that they've done some good business with the rice money that they received, contrary to what Spurs did when they sold Gareth Bale. But
Yeah, I was actually just going to speak about that. Like what they did with that rice money, Edson Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, immediately
Ward-Prowse a good one, yeah.
strengthens their midfield. And I mean, going back to Jason's question, I think he's going to actually those two players are going to be quite pivotal in West Ham's run this season. From what I've seen of West Ham so far in the 3 games, those two players they enforce that midfield quite well. They do the job that Declan Rice did on his own, and they bring some extra qualities with it. I mean, everybody knows the quality that James Ward-Prowse has off the dead ball and just like basically going through passing lanes and stuff like that. So I think that's like very, very good recruitment. But on like over to other teams as well, like Wasim said, Sandra Tonali, great signing, going to work wonders for Newcastle. Yeah, at Spurs, Madison, like Ria said on the previous episode, he's been a godsend, and he's just gonna keep on getting better. And the thing is, all these teams they haven't bought like these legendary world class players. They haven't bought these like 5-star rated players. They've bought really good players that will fit the system of that team and will make them better. It's pointless to go out and like, oh, I want to go buy Neymar. What's Neymar going to bring to your team except for publicity? So yeah, like all these teams have strengthened well. Like coming back to United as well. Casemiro needed the help in the midfield. We ended up getting Amrabat today, so that's something that will definitely like strengthen United's midfield a bit and just like make us a bit more robust, if you can put it like that. Just like trying to cover bases, going like when we're defending and pushing forward as well. Because currently Casemiro is strengthening, he's screening the back four all on his own, and he would have needed some help eventually. So I'm just glad that we got it in before the window closed.
What do we think about Ansu Fati and Brighton?
I think that's a good move for him. I feel like De Zerbi is a player that can nurture these younger talents, and it's no secret to anybody that Ansu Fati is a talented player. So it's just like he went through a bad spell at Barcelona. It seems like his confidence is rock bottom at the moment. So he needs a manager that can believe in him, and I think De Zerbi is a good manager to get him through this patch.
Wasim, it reminds me a lot of the Renato Sanchez to I want to say he signed for Swansea that one season.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
It's almost like AF said now his confidence was low and he just came in. I don't think that really worked out that well. But obviously like the manager this time is different. Brighton have European football. They a team who play a good brand of football as well. So I'm actually hoping it works out for him because as quickly as the media were to, jump on him that he's the next big thing and so on, that's how quickly it disappeared. And now we see the same thing with the 16-year-old at Barca. I think it's Lamine Yamal, if I'm not mistaken. So, I hope these guys have good long careers and these things are going to happen. So hopefully he can bounce back. Yeah, he got the Spain call up.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with these guys. The microscope is so big, especially at Barca, when you are coming just off the era of Messi and Ronaldo, where they did things at a level never seen before. So all of a sudden now, when they leave, that hole is there for someone else to have to take over from. But the thing is, the level was just so high that no one else is going to get to that level. So I think he just needed, and then he got injuries as well. So I think he just needs a new environment where there's a young manager that's going to give him all the time and the love and support and development that he needs, so that he can just get back to playing week in, week out in a team where the pressure is not as high as Barcelona is.
Yeah.
Because Barcelona, you have 3 or 4 big losses or 3 or 4 bad performances, and the media gets on your back, the crowd gets on your back, and things like that. So, and for a young player, he doesn't need that. So I think it's a good move for all parties concerned. And if he goes back to Barcelona, having scored 15 goals at Brighton and having played in 40 games, for example, that would be a great season overall. Given that they're in Europe.
So you're
as well.
almost looking for him to replicate the season, I suppose, Conor Gallagher had at Crystal Palace.
Yes,
Something
exactly.
like that would be a.
Just where you can take him back, having had a lot of games, having confidence sky high, given that he was always going to play and things like that. So I think there is a lot to gain from this loan, and
Yeah.
it's not to say that Barca are now, done with him and that's the end of his road at Barca, because
Yeah.
he's a talented player and he is capable of becoming a regular there at that club. So I'm interested to see how that's going to develop.
Wasim, actually, I'm glad that you're here because there's some breaking news here. Newcastle making a late move for Spurs goalkeeper Hugo Lloris. How do you feel about that?
Hashtag
Okay,
panic.
I've been off Twitter, so
It's literally
I
like
do
2 minutes ago.
apologize. Look, I think basically if we were to move for Lloris, I think it would be as just to firm up the goalkeeping department, because we've got Nick Pope. I think he's also been omitted from the England squad. So if I'm going to be adding 1 and 1, and I'm going to get 2, if I am adding it up together, and I think maybe one of our goalkeepers suffered a severe injury, and so I think it's more just the cover from now till January, or for the season, because we've got Karius who was signed for the season, but he only played 1 game for us last season. Dubravka was on loan at Man United,
Sounds
but he
like
also didn't
Newcastle
play.
like goalies who make errors in big games.
Yeah, look, he's a World Cup winner, so I wouldn't say no to him. But I think it's more just a
True,
case
true.
of could be because when I've watched Eddie Howe's press conferences, and he always said we won't sign another player after Lewis Hall unless there's a crisis. So I'm gathering that it could be a serious injury to one of our goalkeepers, and
I
he is
reckon it's
rather playing it safe. If we do get
that
Lloris, it would be to play it safe and just get another
it's that tie
experience
in
first.
Paris, man. PSG away. Lloris walks out of the tunnel. It's gonna
It would
stay.
be typical of us, eh? Like we reach a final in 20 years, and then the week before the final, our goalkeeper gets a red card, and our other goalkeeper is capped out, and we end up our third choice goalkeeper being in the final. So it would be typical Newcastle, get to the Champions League after so long, and then have injured players not available, and then you have to take a 37 or 38-year-old to be your keeper.
No bias for De Gea, the great United keeper.
I think he was
Yeah,
on a very expensive contract, so I don't
yeah.
think clubs are prepared to give him close to what he was on at United. So
Yeah.
I think it's a
I
case
don't,
of yeah.
I don't understand how, if you are without the club, why are you holding out for the same contract that you were once on? I mean, just try to play football again. Just give in.
But
If
maybe
somebody's going to offer
you
you 50% of it.
maybe you
I
don't
mean,
have to.
he was on 375K a week. So I mean, no club is going to be offering him that. The only club that I think
See,
is probably
so
going to. Sorry.
in a lot of these cases, the players they sit back and they think, okay, the situation isn't there right now, the market isn't there right now. But like Wasim said, a team is just a crisis away. And as a free agent, he isn't tied to the transfer deadline. So if a team didn't get a goalkeeper, next week they can sign him. And
Yeah.
if they're desperate enough, then he's gonna earn a couple tens of thousands more per week because the team needs him.
But I think
So
you
you
do have
can
to
actually sit
register
back.
I think you do have to register your squad though. So if a player
Yeah, but if
signs
you have an
after the
injury, man,
deadline,
then
yeah, but if a player signs after the deadline, then I don't think he's eligible until January, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So might be a free agent, but it does still cost him, unless
yeah.
unless he's waiting for a move to Saudi or something like that, because their window is later.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's
both
quite interesting.
both Saudi and Turkey, I think the window is open for another 2 weeks or so. So
Yeah.
that's what Jurgen Klopp was going on about as well, because that puts them at a disadvantage with the whole Mo Salah deal. So the window closes tonight in England, but for the next 2 weeks or so, Salah can leave, and then that leaves Liverpool at a disadvantage. So yeah, it's a weird thing, and I think FIFA will end up looking into it over the next year or so to ensure that some stuff like this doesn't happen again.
I see West Ham have scored. Jared Bowen off a Lucas Paqueta cross. You think he betted on that maybe? If he was going to get the assist? How's he still playing?
But it's the same with Ivan Toney. I mean, you were still
but if you're
playing.
going to suspend the guy later on, you might as well put him on leave until you clear it up. But anyway, good player.
Yeah.
I mean, this transfer deadline doesn't feel like it used to be in the past couple of years, where there was chaos and excitement till the end. It seems like teams are getting things done better.
The wingy in the parking lot.
That was crazy. You're not seeing so much of that.
Sports. Yeah, I think it's just teams are. I don't know. They're just more prepared now and not willing to take it till the end, because I think it goes both ways. You can get the player you want eventually if you wait till the end, but also, you're a failed medical, or you're a Saudi club away from losing out on a player that you really, really wanted. So I think teams are just more prepared to seal the deal earlier than before. Whereas I think in the past, with big money, clubs are a bit more reluctant to just give away the money. But now, they know that you can sell a player or two to Saudi, and you back in the money. So I think they just want to make sure that they get the players that they really, really want. And I think coaches also, with so much on the line, they are like, I want my squad ready for the first game, because every 3 points is important. So I think it's better that way. I think from a personal point of view, I think it's better to have players in early pre-season. They can settle, acclimatize, because most of the players that have good seasons or new signings are the ones that arrived early at the club. I think I can't think of many deadline day signings who proved to be like a instant hit, and maybe Ozil or Berbatov, for example. But yeah, not too many.
To the airport in a limo to go hijack that deal. What a legend!
I actually thought that's where Jason went now, but
yeah, he just left us just like that.
Things happen.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up now. Before load shedding hits over here. So yeah, we just giving a quick opinion on if you guys think there's going to be any big deals in the next 2 to 3 hours or 2 hours.
I think it's just going to be this Loris deal now, because I'm reading my Twitter feed, and a lot of the Newcastle fans are worried because Pope is not in the England squad, and now all of a sudden you're signing Loris. So they're like, what the hell? Why are we doing this? We have 3 other keepers on our books already besides Pope. Yeah. So you're going to have a 5th keeper. So why are we doing it? So it's more like, oh my God, what's happening? We already had this horrible week where we had Man City drawn in the cup and the 3 Giants in the Champions League, and we lost in the last minute to Liverpool. Yeah. So it's been a horrible week for us, and now all of a sudden we worried about.
I just saw now that Hugo Lloris is rejecting Newcastle's approaches.
Oh,
so
lovely. Okay,
yeah,
this
is going to. But then the very next post that I saw is Casper Schmeichel has left Nice by mutual termination, mutual consent.
There we go. It's hotting up the goalkeeper, the race to be Nick Pope's backup.
Yeah, amazing. So that's one to watch for Newcastle then, Wasim.
I want to see if Liverpool buy a forward in anticipation of Salah leaving.
So I've just also read it now. One of the more established Newcastle journalists, Luke Edwards, has said that we are definitely not signing Loris, and he's been asked to make that pretty clear. So his sources
for the best, man. You're not missing out. Don't worry.
yeah, I don't see the point of signing such an old goalkeeper, especially when we ended his career at Spurs by beating them 6-1 last season. So his last memory at St James's Park needs to be that 6-1 defeat. He doesn't need to come back.
Yeah, nah, I think it's been a good session, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to everybody in the chat. It was a bit active there. Thanks for everybody for joining us for this last couple of hours of the transfer deadline day. Thanks, Yad, for staying up quite late over there in Dubai, and Wasim for pulling through.
Who sleeps, man?
Yeah, but now enjoy the last couple of hours, and yeah, we'll catch you guys around. Oh, and thanks, Jason, wherever you are. Thanks for heading the session today. But yeah, unfortunately, you just had to step out for an emergency. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Yes, sir. Cheers, guys.